If there's one thing that just about everyone can agree the COVID pandemic revealed as a critical need that required upgrading and improving, it's the quality and consistency of high-speed broadband or internet service. That holds true not only for Vermont, but the nation as a whole, especially in rural areas which have been traditionally underserved. In 2019, the Vermont legislature passed Act 79, which amended existing law and established new programs related to the deployment of broadband service in Vermont. Previous legislation passed in 2015 allowed for the creation of communication union districts, a legal entity which enabled communities to be formed into communication union districts, or CUDs, to borrow money to build out infrastructure and build out the connectivity. Here in southern Vermont, two CUDs have emerged: the Southern Vermont Communication Union District, based primarily in Bennington County, and the Deerfield Valley CUD, based in Windham County. We had a chance to talk with Ann Manwaring, the chairwoman of the Deerfield Valley CUD's Board of Directors, and Tim Scoggins, the chairman of the Southern Vermont CUD, to hear their thinking on next steps and where things stand and the degree to which they'll be collaborating.
Well, we started out with 5 towns on town meeting day, and since then, we have grown to 19 towns. We've been on an active campaign to expand that. It's one of the places we've spent some of our energy. Because as you know from southern Vermont, and ultimately we're going to have to create a revenue stream of service to our end customers that will sustain us in the long run. That's the end goal for all of us. And so the path that we have to walk between now and then is the same for both our CUDs.
Do you think there's a possibility that the two CUDs might work together collaboratively in some way, or are the two areas so distinct and different that really it makes more sense just to keep them separate?
We've already actually started collaborating with Southern Vermont because when you look at the map, eventually the northern portion of ours and the southern portion of ours are going to meet up. Our twos are going to meet up. And so when we start actually doing either high-level design maps and things of where our potential work is going to go, those maps in our CUD and Southern Vermont CUD, they're going to meet up at a town boundary. And so for Southern Vermont to go get some money to do the same project in your territory as we go get some money to do the same project, probably with the same vendor, doing it for both of us, then that's a kind of a collaboration that is a win-win for both of us.
It's moving forward. Most significantly, the feasibility study that we are working with the BIG grant that we got from DPS, our first draft of that said that Southern Vermont CUD would have a difficult time moving forward on our own with that. Part of our original ask with that, because we've been thinking about this from the beginning, is what if we combined with the Deerfield Valley, with Brattleboro and Windham County, and approached it as a 2-county solution. And so that is where we're headed now. We have had approval from Department of Public Service to proceed in that way, looking at a 2-county feasibility study with that grant. The Deerfield Valley leadership is agreeable to looking at that, and you know, the two CUDs leadership have been talking about this since the beginning. That we always kind of suspected that there was probably going to be goodness in combining our two CUDs and looking at it from an overall perspective, if from nothing else, just from the financial aspect of having a larger pool of larger population to work the problem with. So that's where we're headed now. And what we're hoping for is that we will get a first draft or first look at what a 2-county feasibility looks like before Christmas. And then in January, finalize that, get approval from Department of Public Service to move forward with a two-county business plan. And then we will get into serious negotiations with Deerfield Valley and with whatever private partner is likely going to be necessary to make any kind of network build go forward.
The ultimate goal most CUDs share is getting to a level of very fast, future-proof service, 100 megabytes per second of upload and download speeds, which is much faster than the existing federal standard of 25 megabits per second of download speed and 3 megabits per second of upload speed. The next big event that will impact the CUDs is the announcement of a reverse auction for the services to be obtained from broadband developers financed by RDOF, the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. Representative Laura Sibilia was one of the chief architects of Act 79, which went a long way towards propelling the growth of communications union districts around the state.
But, even before COVID, we saw communities coming together really quickly to stand up these CUDs, and of course, the pandemic has accelerated that. In addition, because of the pandemic, we had put in place some tools, some planning tools, and a technical assistance person at the department, and then COVID hit, and the conversations that we were having at the state level were really around how fast can you push a grassroots development to go, right? Which is what the CUDs are. So their strength lies in their community development, really, from within the community, and that takes time to build. And we're also in a health emergency. And we have funds that have to be spent in a really small window of time to get some things done. So one of the concerns was, would the CUDs be able to spend any money, be able to make any progress? And they really have been able to move forward. The two Southern Vermont CUDs, I've been really impressed with, the business plan development. They both agreed to try with a federal auction that is underway for additional federal dollars, looking at some partners. And if you had said to me this time last year that that's where we would be, I would not have believed it, because it's really remarkable what's happened.
Meanwhile, in Londonderry, we have a community that's part of both CUDs. We talked with their two representatives, Jeff Such and Ellen Seidman, about how they saw broadband issues playing out in their community.
Yeah, so I guess what is the overall state of broadband coverage then in the Londonderry area? Is it adequate for most needs, or I guess you must both feel there's room for improvement, or what is our status at the moment?
Well, I'll go first. I would say my personal broadband situation is like subpar. I think the statistics, like at least what's been reported officially in the feasibility study, is that 80% of people in Londonderry have like some kind of, access to adequate broadband. I think how we define adequate broadband could be different for different people's needs. And, certainly I have neighbors, and there are pockets of Londonderry that are underserved, and many people who feel like they're unable to, use the internet service that's available to them to meet the needs they have for work, health, or education purposes. So I've been introduced to some of those folks. I don't know, Jeff may have other he's in a little bit different side of Londonderry, so you could give your side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think on paper, Londonderry looks better off than some other mountain towns. But again, that's kind of on paper, and as Ellen was saying, that's dependent on what your definition of service is. Now, I think, as Ellen was saying, we're above 80% served. If you're going along, FCC definitions of what broadband is, which is 25 download, 3 upload. I think that definition is going to probably change with the incoming administration. But I think we can all agree that even those minor definitions are kind of wholly inadequate for what the realities of 21st century telehealth and teleeducation and remote business actually require. So although on paper we look like we're above 80% served, if you use Vermont's definition of what our end goal is, which is 100 up, 100 down, we're 0% served as a town. So I think it's kind of the tale of two cities right there.
There's still a long way to go, and more will become clearer in January when the result of the RDOF reverse auction is known. Despite the continued focus on faster broadband service being more widely available, that point may still be a ways off. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.